Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know it would sound strange, but yeah.
If that was like top 3 books, what else you would add to this list?
50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades of Grey.
I can also like describe you as a switcher.
Basically, it's not for everyone. I would say it's for people that achieved success.
There is a huge trend of people watching how other people playing chess.
It's a little bit scary again.
Would you go learning Java?
So yeah, 4 billion by $20. That's a lot of money on a monthly basis.
Is there any bright future in Europe?
So right now, we cannot see the future.
How would you introduce yourself?
I'm a little bit paranoid.
Hi everyone, welcome to ScaleYourWeb podcast, the place where we talk about artificial intelligence, digital marketing and technologies. And today our new episode of Unpacking AI. Our guest is Vlad Khurtin, and Vlad is senior Gen AI software engineer working in most competitive niches. Vlad was building LLMs before OpenAI dropped ChatGPT and all that hype with AI. So I believe you will find some interesting thoughts from Vlad, and if you do, please support this podcast with a like, comment below this video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel in order not to miss our next episodes of Unpacking AI. And for now, let's dive in. Hey Vlad, welcome to ScaleYourWeb podcast. Finally.
It's a pleasure to be here, Dennis. To be finally here.
Well, you know, I like to start podcasts with Blitz quick questions that requires like quick answers without any additional context, without clarifications. Just answer as you feel, and I will interpret answers as I feel. And maybe later during the podcast, we will go deeper with some of the questions. Yeah, but for now, it's just like quick question, quick answer. Does it work for you for start?
Right, of course. I will try to do my best.
Speaking about AI, I always start with a question. For you personally, AI is your friend, AI is your competitor, or AI is your enemy?
In this case, I would say AI is my friend because I'm working with AI right now and not against it. And I'm working with AI like to contribute to our future. And hopefully it does not become my enemy.
Okay, and AI is your friend, competitor, or enemy in 5 years?
I would say it would be a competitor at that point. That's for sure. And again, hopefully not enemy. If it's an enemy, I don't want to leave the events of Terminator. So yes.
Do you consider yourself more as AI optimistic or pessimistic?
I would say optimistic because it's hip right now, because most of the opinions are turning sour. So everyone becomes pessimistic. So I, as a true hipster of my generation, I decided to go optimistic in this case because otherwise I would be like everyone else.
What do you consider more dangerous for your personal life? Artificial intelligence or nuclear weapon?
I think artificial intelligence would not annihilate me like on an atomic level. So yeah, I would consider like a nuclear weapon to be more dangerous by a lot because you can fight disinformation. You cannot fight a nuclear warhead heading your direction. So you cannot do anything about it.
And for humanity, if not for you, but for humanity, what's more dangerous in your opinion?
In the long term, I think they are on an equal footing in this case. But right now, nuclear weapons are still more dangerous than chatbots or some AI agents, at least at this point. Until someone hands over like nuclear codes to an AI, then they would be like equal.
Range please from top to bottom with no explanation. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Grok.
The first one would be at the top would be Claude for me, that's for sure. Then the second would be Gemini, the third one GPT, and fourth one is Grok.
Interesting, very interesting. Okay.
I'm not a Twitter user.
And recommend one book that you like, your cherry picked book, just one.
Like, is it related to AI or like in general?
Whatever you prefer.
I would say the most useful book that I read in the last 2 years would be by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know it would sound strange, but yeah, It's called Be Useful. I think the rules of life, 7 rules of life. I would recommend it to any person.
Okay, that's really interesting. We will go to this definitely later. And if that was like top 3 books, what else you would add to this list?
I think nowadays, especially AI engineers, I know there's a lot of talk about empathy, etc., AI dangers. I think a book by Eric Fromm, The Art of Love, is always like on my tabletop. It's always useful because nowadays it's especially important to remember about empathy and love to other people. I know it's not algorithmic or math, etc., but still it's important to remain human. And like apart from some algorithm by someone, I would say the third one would be The Will of the Many. It's a fantasy book, but it's like raises a lot of socio-economic issues in its fantasy world, but it actually relates to our real world. And it actually, if you think about it, it involves AI to a certain degree. So yeah, I would recommend that to anyone as well, technical and non-technical.
Okay, so next question again. Please, from top to bottom, rate Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos.
This is a hard one because honestly, I'm not a person, but I would go Jeff Bezos first on the top one because I know because I have an economics background. The guy that has the entire empire behind him, he would be like number one for me, regardless of AI or not. The second would be Altman because he like pivoted this whole AI revolution and he's behind it, but he's still a little bit behind Jeff Bezos. Then I would say Zuckerberg because he's really hopping onto it, and his Facebook's Llama, etc. They provide a lot of value right now. And the last one would be Elon Musk, but that's due to my personal opinions. So yeah, I'm biased in this case.
I understand you. Okay, and next question will be a little bit provocative, but again, no explanation, no context. In 2025, learning plumbing or learning JavaScript?
I wouldn't learn JavaScript in 2015. So yeah,
So plumbing. Okay, I will rephrase. I will rephrase my question. In 2025, learning plumbing or Java?
all right, that's another interesting question. I would say Java is still on top, honestly. But if there was like a third option, like an electrical engineer or a nuclear scientist, I would go with that option, like a science heavy, STEM heavy profession. I would go with that one because you can replace a programmer with AI in the near future. Let's suppose that's the near future, but you cannot replace a nuclear scientist on an electrician with any AI bot in the next 10, 20 years. That's for sure. That's some
Okay,
job security, I would say.
we'll definitely talk about this deeper. But for our Blitz, probably the last but not least, for you personally, what's more important to you, the path or the result, or like journey or the destination?
I would say the result it's is the most important one because you can have the most amazing journey. You can like in context of development, you can have a great, amazing development team. You can do amazing things. But if you're behind the curve or you are not like up to task and you deliver a subpar product, like it doesn't matter. Yeah, you have those memories, but it still did not like alter anything. Like it didn't matter. So I honestly focus mostly on the delivery, but that's because of my experience. Probably that like warped my perception of this.
Okay, Vlad, thank you for this quick questions, quick answers. And since I know you for many years and I know different roles of Vlad, how would you introduce yourself to our audience of Scale Your Web podcast today?
That's a great question because sometimes I wonder myself. But currently, I am a senior software developer at DXC Systems. I'm currently a part of the DXC GenAI division, and we are developing next gen solutions that will probably replace me and probably you in the next like 5 years, even maybe faster. But yeah, overall, I have over 6 years of software development experience, mostly in production environments, a little bit in startups, a little bit of here, a little bit of there. I'm mostly focused on Java, so I'm a backend developer, but I also experience with Python and a little bit of JavaScript and data science, because that's essential nowadays. So yeah, that's my short intro.
I will put before the main part of the podcast some intro about you, because I know that you work directly with AI, you work directly with building LLMs for most competitive companies, and I believe you can, like, you have what to say, and you definitely know more than many people that are talking about AI. That's why I'm sure this podcast should be very, very interesting. But I also know one more characteristic about your personality, because we have been studying together at the same university, and I know that that was one of the best university. You was one of the best students, and that was Faculty of Economics. And majority, like lion's share of the people I know, they work nowadays either in economics, finance, marketing, data analytics, etc. But probably the only one person that went from that topic to completely new, which is software development, is you. And I can also like describe you as a switcher. And the reason I'm talking about it now, because due to all this AI, there are a lot of thoughts that a lot of people will need to switch their job and pretty rapidly, and probably do this switching a few times during their life path or during their career. So my question to you, even two questions to you I have. Can you imagine yourself switching to plumbing in 5 years? And second question, for people who are now 17 years old, would you recommend learning plumbing or Java?
I First of all, I would answer like in sequence. I can imagine myself switching not to plumbing, probably first of all to data science, because it's the most adjacent one, and because I was in economics, it's very similar. We studied all those things, statistics, mathematical statistics, etc. So yeah, I can imagine switching to another, but like white collar job. If all of those are taken, but I doubt that. Yeah, I can see myself switching maybe to plumbing, maybe to something else. But that's nothing to be ashamed of. And if it brings good money and it's like fulfilling, although I cannot imagine how plumbing can be fulfilling, to be honest. Yeah, I can see myself, but that's if the need arises. And the second question would be about 17-year-olds. I would still say that the people in STEM, like science, technology, economics, mathematics, are still needed, and they're extremely needed nowadays. Despite AI, despite all of the changes, they will always be needed, because those are like knowledge-based professions. You cannot replace them easily. You cannot switch to them easily. It takes a lot of time and dedication and passion, to be honest. So yeah, I would say that to those people that watch, I would say pursue your dreams and go ahead with those professions. So yeah, for those that want to be a linguist or something like that, I would double think about that again, because those can be easily replaced. But again, we can find additional like applications to those professions as well. But yeah, we will probably see a lot more plumbers in the next 5 years with previous experience in Java and JavaScript.
But speaking about those people that are currently learning, like in STEM subjects, for example, or even like in software development, we still need like highly skilled senior software developers, etc. But if you would be now like 17 years old, your advice to yourself, would you go learning Java now? Because like you made the switch, it was like 5 years ago or even more. Would you do that now? Like, would you switch to Java now, just to start from the basics, from the beginning?
I would not switch to Java. I would switch to Python. That's for sure. That's 100% because yeah, Python is in demand right now. It will continue to be in demand, and it's tied to the AI hype.
But again, like it's in demand, but it seems to me that like senior developers that already worked years with Python, definitely they are in demand, and especially like nowadays with all this AI hype, etc. But for people who are just starting their career, let's say, I think like going to learn Python when AI can easily like code with Python, would it be still beneficial for future career?
Yeah, because in this case, I would connect Python to data science or like analytics, because AI cannot do that like consistently right now. It can be trained, but it still needs human oversee. And in this case, we still need like new applicants and new engineers, etc. We cannot sustain what we have, the momentum with only senior engineers, because they will retire and they cannot be completely replaced by AI. They can be supplemented by AI. So it means like the newly like junior engineers, there will be more requirements for them. The bar will be higher. But again, they will have more available tools. So those that actually have motivation will get more opportunities. That's for sure. I can say that it's the doors are not closed. Even no, they're wide open. You just need to have the will to push on.
And I think it's also like can be like some parallel with mathematics. Let's say, yeah, like when we were at school, there were like super smart calculators or Excel or different programs that could calculate much faster and better than majority of us. But still, we had to learn like basics for of math just because it's like brain training or learning some algorithms, etc. So as far as I understand, like you consider Python kind of like modern mathematic to in order to work to collaborate with this AI tools. Is this something like that or?
Yeah, definitely. It's just a tool to collaborate with data. That's the most important thing. The data is the king right now. You can see everyone builds data centers, like analyzes data, like the models are trained by data. And all that is while done by machines, it's all regulated by humans. So yeah, we need those humans. We don't have enough of them. That's for sure. That's why there are so many like open positions in OpenAI, etc. They're still looking for talented individuals.
And
And it would be
for
a shame if those individuals would go into plumbing. Yeah.
I agree with you, but again, like we don't need probably like billions of people, software engineers, data scientists, etc. Mm, and yeah, like yeah, the question was about your experience. I definitely understand your answer, but for some people, I think it makes much more sense going learning plumbing than going to learn, for example,
As I mentioned, yeah, the bar is higher. It means like the job requires more from you, and like the selection is more harsh. So yeah, a lot of people would not be able to like complete the process to onboard properly. So yeah, a lot of people will involuntarily go into other locations. So yeah, in this case, I agree with you.
And speaking about this software development, um, as far as I understand, AI was like developing this evolution of AI was for ages. Okay, not for ages, but for many, many years. And it looks like this hype with AI tools changed when OpenAI dropped their latest like model, ChatGPT. I think that was 3.5, like just few years ago, and you were like spectating all these changes. And from your point of view as software developer, how exactly software development changed since that moment? Was this real like some revolution, or that was like evolution? Or because for me, as for not for software developer, it sounds like something happened, something like revolutionary.
It's actually an evolution, because when you talk about AI, you're talking about large language models, LLMs. But there are a lot of different AIs. We have the most popular one was RNN, the neural networks. And yeah, those were like popular for a long time. They were trained, they were used in a lot of applications. But LLMs were introduced, the theory of LLMs based on transformers was introduced in 2016, so 9 years ago, almost a decade before. But we needed some computational power, like data accumulation and research, for that to actually take off. GPT actually took off into 2020 with GPT-3. That was like a breakthrough. And you were not aware because you're not in the data science field, and you're not following it, and it's like understandable. But because what GPT-3 was, it was a chatbot. You were able to communicate with it, so it was like used by a lot of people. It was approachable, it was marketable, and it became popular overnight. So yeah, before that, like when we talk about AI, we have AI in video games, like in those Counter-Strike bots. That's AI as well. There are a lot of different AIs, but the one that actually took off and was a breakthrough, all those are LLMs. Everything did not change overnight, but like in 5 years, the game has changed a lot. I would say the development process, it's completely changed. Like the market changed, the demands, everything. Again, when we are talking about LLMs, like I started working on them like 2.5 years ago. Like to be more precise, before I was, of course, interested. We had some discussions about them, even in 2022. I think you're on top of that. So yeah, and the development changed like completely over the last 3 years as well. Like 3 years ago, even the regular development, no AI tools, everything is written by hand. Maybe something is copied from Stack Overflow. Nowadays, you use AI tools. It's expected of you to use AI tools. For example, I was given a task today on my work by my manager, and he told me like you have to use your AI tools, and if you have to do it in a week. And I understand, like if I was given that like 3 years ago, it would take me like a month at least. Yeah, and regarding the development of LMs, like 3 years ago, there was a little, like complete no knowledge, no know-how of how we work with LMs. Most of the projects were like simple ChatGPT wrappers. Nowadays, it's completely like otherwise because we have a lot of different models. We have a lot of clients that require like to train models for them or to extend the existing models with additional data. Because, for example, you cannot use ChatGPT in a medical field because that would be like legally wrong. So you have to train some additional, either to extend ChatGPT or to train your own model. Sometimes you train not LMs but RNNs because those are applicable in some cases. But yeah, it has completely changed. Like the tech stack of a developer from 3 years ago is completely different to what we have right now. And the game continues to change. And that is why, as we returned to the previous question, we still need new engineers, because if everything is changing so rapidly, you just can hop on the train. And even if you have no prior experience with the tools being updated like bi-monthly, you can still be like marketable in our current situation. So yeah, everything
And
changes like overnight.
it's interesting. I'm asking about this, like how it changed everything in software development, because I saw some posts from another software developer I know that works for AI, and he said something like, "We create the things that going to replace, like I'm creating the things that going to replace me in few years." And in general, it looks to me that one of the industry, like usually people were scary about like blue collar jobs, let's say, and now every like with this AI, it looks like white collar jobs, especially software development, is very very automated. But as far as I understand, it's not just automated, just accelerated, at least for now. Yeah, it's some, yeah, I say.
That's a great way to put it. It's not automated, it's accelerated. It accelerates your progress, your performance. That's for sure. Like you're working in like 3 people instead of one with an AI agent on your side. But yeah, it's a little bit scary. Again, I'm working on some solutions that can potentially replace the entire IT department of my company, like with a few AI agents that are working together, collaboration. But there are still like concerns with how AI project would handle enterprise ready solutions, like huge projects, not something like small that you write over or a week or a month, but something that has been maintained by decades. Like I doubt that AI is applicable to some systems that work with, for example, tax systems because they're so legacy and so ancient, and you don't have like a lot of data about how those system works out in the open. You have to train your own model. So yeah, you would still need people, but to a certain degree, much less people. And
Much less people. And it's also interesting because it seems to me, as you said, like everything is changing so quickly that it seems to me that people are not even able to keep up with all these changes. Like, for example, nowadays to create some, I don't know, like chat bots that will reply 99% of questions and put this bot on your website, if you're, I don't know, some local store, etc., it's super easy. But if I watch like local shops on Google Maps, there is probably just 1% of even online shops that like make very good revenue. Even they don't have it. And it seems to me that AI is developing so quickly that people like we even don't have time to implement all those changes, how quickly it's developing. And yeah, I know that you work with big corporations with huge budgets, with huge data sets, etc. And probably in their case it's a little bit different. You should to keep up with everything like that, but for small medium enterprises, in my opinion, it's very difficult now. On the one hand, it's very easy, it's very cheap, like you can go buy some tools for $10-20 and it will cover 99% of chats, for example. But on the other hand, I see that there are just few businesses that realize they can use it. And I think it's also like this like you know, like index genie between. Yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. It seems to me that it also creates like this gap, like between those that understand AI and they can make it better and better, and those that don't use AI, they are just stuck there. What do you think about these small medium enterprises? What would be your advice to those guys?
honestly, I feel like even in big corporations with big budgets and a lot of money, you still need people that realize that AI revolution is here, and you need to implement it right now. So I feel like it's mostly human driven as well. And so yes, the big guys like the big corporations, they have the budgets, but still, if you have a person that is dedicated and that is like interested in this, even if you are a small or a medium business, you can still thrive in this environment. You do not need to develop your own entire agent. In this case, you can use already like market ready solutions, something like that. You can pick it up because you're not like restricted that much by a lot of red tape or like legal issues, etc. You're not in multiple regions. You do not have to adhere to multiple like legal issues. So yeah, there is a freedom in that as well. So because
And I think in small companies there are less like formalities to get a proof, etc. Yeah, they can be even faster. Yeah,
because even in big tech, like there's a drive to develop your own solutions right now because there are still opportunities. So that's why they're little bit lagging behind. If you only opt out for like market solutions, what we have already on the market, it's much easier. Yeah, you may have to pay premium in the future, but you will still be up to date. So it's not all lost in this case. There are pros and there are cons in this situation. So the small guy, the small businesses still can thrive. You just need some motivation and like willingness to learn something new to adapt.
I see. Okay, Vlad, and you mentioned like AI agents, you mentioned LLMs, you mentioned definitely artificial intelligence, and I really like to be like on the same page to be sure that I completely understand that we talk about the same substance, let's say. And yeah, because different people put like different ideas what is a agent and LLMs, etc. Could you describe how you explain what is artificial intelligence, what is artificial general intelligence, AGI? It's also very interesting because nowadays it's like a new hype word, and especially interesting about agentic AI agents, and LLM. Since you work with LLMs, you probably can tell more about that.
Yeah, of course. Like basically, AI is if we are going from top to bottom, AI is at the top. Like it's the definition that covers most of the things that we will talk about. So basically, it's not like in our case as an intelligence. It's a subsist. It's a mathematical subsystem that behaves like it has intelligence, but it actually does not. Like it's a contradiction, but we still call it as AI because even like 20 years ago we had some chatbots, etc. Though like Siri, it can be classified as AI, but it did not have intelligence, and it was definitely it was artificial. That's for sure. Under it, I would say we go with natural NLPs. So basically, that is what LLM is. Large language model is the way it is able to communicate with us, like in a natural way. In our case, uh, from a programmer's perspective, LLM is just an user-friendly ability to access a lot of data. It's like a big database that you can interact with in a human adjacent way. That's what it is, because it has a lot of data that has been trained by machine learning, and that way it can like interact with us. Previously, I've mentioned some older models, RNNs, neural networks. So, what is the difference, by the way, between LLM? Why there was like a breakthrough? The short answer is we changed the way machines learn from us, because previously we've like analyzed all of the data that we had, and we had to learn it like everything, completely everything that we had there. But with transformers and LLMs, we basically can weight the importance of every word, and like because of that weight, we have much more quicker access to the data, and so we can train on larger data sets. That's why we had a great breakthrough, because we were able to process much more bigger data sets. Basically, that's it. And as for AGI, honestly, I think at this point, like every person has its own definition. Like someone
Yeah,
probably
I also heard like super intelligence and super AI. Like there's AI, AGI, and super AGI. Yeah, there are so many terms nowadays.
For me, AGI is like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Terminator 2. I don't know. But in real terms, we do not have AGI right now. And I doubt I would have like, I'm have enough knowledge to like to foresee if we will have AGI in like X years, etc. Even Sam Altman makes some predictions, like we need to invest like $1 trillion and we will have AGI or something like that. But those are like superficial cosmic numbers, like 1 trillion. That is insurmountable amount of money. So yeah, and yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and to train, like you mentioned that in like for you as software developer, it's like LLM is access to data, train data, or to get the AGI, we need to train data. And for me, like I'm not completely understand. I'm not sure I understand what is like trained data. What is this? How they actually train data? How they and also speaking about agents, I thought about agents because someone told me it's like you have, for example, support agent like human being, and you can replace it with some chatbot, let's say. And I was okay. How can I motivate my AI support, or how I can punish? Yeah, that's like that's still not same. Like what do you think of that point? Like how what's trained data, and how it's trained, like how you motivate it to learn or how you punish it not to learn better.
Basically, you do not, basic sense motivate or punish it, because you cannot punish a machine because it does not feel pain. It does not have a conscience. But you only provide instructions, and the quality of your instructions directly correlates to the output that you have. So in this case, you actually have to punish and motivate yourself. But again, there's a discrepancy and a difference in the quality of data that you train your model on. So basically, for example, we take like a book and feed it to our model. So depending on the quality of that book, if we feed it Shakespeare, or something like Hemingway, it would produce high art, or it would try to imitate it. To be honest, if you feed it 50 Shades of Grey, the output would be a little bit different. So yeah, training is basically providing the data to a machine and allowing it to weight it. So each word, the importance of each word, etc., so that it would be able to provide an output similar to what you fed to it.
But how does I weight it? For example, when I use ChatGPT and I get some answer, I see sometimes they ask like, "Do you like this answer, or maybe you prefer this answer?" I understand that at least I give some feedback, and probably this like helps with training models. Even though I don't think this is a good idea to give this tool to people to train these models, because there are like different peoples with different um, goals, let's say, and how they train it. I understand that probably every my chart this data is trained, but uh, I do not provide feedback. So and as far as I understand, no one reads all my charts in ChatGPT and like put, okay, this answer was good, this was bad, and like stick and carrot for ChatGPT, like how it's trained.
In your case, when you're talking about chat, it's not trained because the model itself, it's already trained, it's encapsulated. But there is a chat history with you. And it's basically a vector database, data store. And to not get technical in this case, it basically tracks all of your uh, communications with this chatbot, and it weights your reactions. It doesn't even matter if you upvote, downvote something. When it prompts you to choose different answers, it provides you different models, so different data sets. So in the end, it looks at your history and at your reactions. So if you provide positive feedback, if you like something, like good job, ChatGPT, yeah, it tracks that, and in the future, it would keep in mind that those answers that it provided, all that type of answer, is beneficial to you. So basically, it provides like a weighted aggregate to that answer that it gave to you, and it weights it higher. So in the future, it will try to follow the same model. It's very technical.
But it's interesting because, for example, we take Instagram or TikTok. It's very easy for products, I don't know, for product managers on that side to understand. If I use this application and I scroll it for 2 hours, probably I like this content. If I like it, if I put some comments, I engage somehow, they can estimate that probably this content is interesting to me, and if I'm a repetitive client, let's say. But in case of ChatGPT, mm, they cannot put like the longer I talk, the more I'm interested, because maybe that's vice versa scenario. The sooner I get the answer, the sooner I close the chat, and I'm happy because I resolved my question that I asked ChatGPT. So for me, it looks like it's more complicated to 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 train the data, because like you don't have that obvious feedback as you have it with likes in YouTube, or with views in TikTok, etc. Um, and yeah, like I still don't understand how they understand that the model became better answering my questions if no one reads human being, if no one reads my chats.
Between YouTube, Instagram, and ChatGPT. In YouTube and Instagram, you have like very few interactions. You can like, you can comment, nobody analyzes your comments. The act of that you commented, that is tracked. So basically, it only keeps your engagement. With ChatGPT, you interact with it like in a natural way. You provide words to it, etc. You like refine your answers, etc. So it's much more mature. It's much more precise in this case, because in Instagram they have like a trained algorithm, but you have very limited amount of interactions. It's not simple, but it's limited and it's applicable. With ChatGPT, you're interacting with it as a human being, so it's much more complex. But at the same time, you provide much more data about yourself.
I agree that it's more complex and probably the only one feedback that I can give to say thank you, Chad. And I recently started doing it, and I even saw that interview of Sam Altman, who said they spent like few millions of dollars for electricity just for tokens for these thank you words, but it makes model more, let's say, polite and like more human type. But yeah, like I mean, like for example, if I ask ChatGPT what to wear if it's now, I don't know, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that, and it tells me just take a t-shirt, for example. And okay, I close the chat and I didn't say thank you. I didn't say like it was a bad idea. I didn't provide any feedback, but somehow these models became better and better. And next time this will answer me, oh, probably 60 degrees. It's like t-shirt. It's not enough. You should also take some like warmer clothes, etc. Even though I didn't provide any feedback, I'm just like I don't understand how it works there on backend, how it understand that this answer was good, this answer was bad. Maybe as developer, do you have any idea how this all works?
To be honest, first of all, it would not suggest a t-shirt at 60 degrees, but because that would be like a suicide. Because it's trained on a general model, like it's a generic. It would provide something substantial. But again, they have a lot of agents underneath. Because ChatGPT from 5 years ago and nowadays are completely different ecosystem, and they use agentic approach as well, because you can use, sometimes it uses web search, as you know, sometimes it thinks longer, it uses different models or different agents underneath, and it is, while the model itself is encapsulated, it still sometimes connects to the internet to double check. So of course it bases its interactions upon you, but in this case it seems like if you close the chat, it means that you are satisfied with that reply. Because otherwise, for example, you tell, no, that is like gibberish. I would probably need something else. And if you did not, it seems like it's applicable to you. So t-shirt at 60 degrees is good to go. So it tracks you. Again, it weights this, and in the future, it would know that you have like thick skin or something like that. Again, so there are a lot of details about it. So, and to not go very technical about it, it tracks a lot of data about you, even involuntarily. So yeah.
And also, you mentioned about this Siri, for example, or smart homes in past, or any other software, because as again, for me as not developer, software developer, it feels that some revolution happened after OpenAI dropped their ChatGPT, and before that there was Siri, and basically I could communicate. Even now, I can communicate to Siri pretty same way I can communicate to ChatGPT, but we never called Siri as AI assistants. We just use the term in like voice assistant, and with ChatGPT we call it AI assistant. Why why Siri is not AI and ChatGPT voice helper is AI?
That's it's pretty simple. If we are comparing ChatGPT right now and Siri, for example, like 10 years ago, because that would be more applicable. Siri, like when you interact with your laptop, for example, you use keyboard. Siri is just an extension of that keyboard. It's a voice assistant, but it's like a voice interface, because underneath it does not have anything intelligent about it. It's just a way to communicate with your laptop directly using your voice. You can ask it like a weather, about weather, but it like has a hard-coded integration with weather.com, and it would go and check it. Like it's the same as with your like on your iPhone, you have a weather's app, and it's the same basically. But ChatGPT is an agent. It has a lot of data in it, and we can communicate it with as a human. Because if you ask Siri like a question about like Siri, can you like program something for me? It would answer like something. I do not understand this command. Sorry, because it doesn't. It's not. It was not programmed for it. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is a data set that is trained on a lot of data, so it knows how to program. Knows like in quotes, but yeah. So it can provide you answer to basically anything. And Siri has like a limited amounts of usage, the way we can use it, and that's it. Nowadays, Siri is integrated with some LLMs, etc. But again, most of the time it's run locally on your phone, so it's very lightweight. So basically, it's like using a keyboard but with your voice. I would say it like that. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is a true data set that is deployed somewhere in the cloud that you need to interact with, and you need an internet connection to that.
So as far as I understand, you mean that Siri is like just if then. For example, if I hear weather, I go to weather.com and I tell this temperature for today. And in case of ChatGPT, it's not like if then, it has some reasoning, like, okay, I have this question, I can answer, I can go to weather.com or I can go there. And today I want to go there, but tomorrow maybe I will check in different place. So it's like more comprehensive reasoning, something like that.
Because and it's actually a difference between the usual like software program and an AI agent. Because software program is like if else and that's it. It's like strictly programmed for some applicable use, while agent can be used in a range of has a range of different usages. So as you mentioned before, for example, like you want to create AI support chatbot, right? So it would be an AI support agent. It would use LLM and additional data that you've trained it upon to interact with you, like to process all of your requests in this case. But if it was like a simple software, it would have like a REST API endpoint, and that's about it. So no usage, very strict. Like AI agents are very popular right now because they remove like those boundaries that we had with software before. Because nowadays it's not conscious in its usual way, but it can self-reflect a little bit. So it's very useful because instead of building like multiple services or microservices for different users, we can deploy one AI agent that can use like applicable code depending on what you have or what you've requested from it. So yeah, that is a revolution in itself again, and it's still ongoing.
Since you also used to be economist, you also know about like all this .com bubble, etc. And some people make this parallel of AI hype with .com bubble, etc. And you mentioned yourself that Sam Altman says, "Give me $1 trillion and I will bring you to AGI." Nvidia costs $4 trillion. Mark Zuckerberg hires people with a signing bonus of $100 million. It just sounds crazy, but where is the money? Like, where is revenue? Like ChatGPT costs $20, I guess, per month or something like that. I even don't remember. I have like paid version, but it requires a lot of electricity, a lot of data centers, etc. And one of like my friends that have just some fitness app, they don't require all those data centers, etc. They charge more for their application, yeah. And development of their application took probably few days with modern AI, and development of ChatGPT model took many years. Like, I don't understand what, like, how these companies make money now. Do they actually make money? Because it sounds that they are actually lose more money that they spend. So is this a game just to like the winner takes all, like to conquer the market, or is this a bubble? Like, what do you think? What are your thoughts about economic part of AI hype?
All right, that is a pretty loaded question, but I will go from the back. So in this case, if it's a bubble, I think at this point probably everyone knows that it is. It's certainly a bubble. AI has its use, but it's overhyped again. But it's not to a degree that it would pop and it would like destroy the world economy or something like that. It's overhyped, but because there are a lot of expectations in the future. Right now, you've asked me where's the revenue. There is no revenue at this point, at least right now. But again, you compared like ChatGPT with your friend's like app, but there's one difference between the app and ChatGPT. It's the economy of scale because the fitness app has like a limited applicability and a limited market share, while ChatGPT can be used basically by any humans with a phone. So it has a like a market target audience of like 4 billion people at this point. So yeah, 4 billion by $20, that's a lot of money on a like, on a monthly basis. So yeah, there's a potential for that, and that's for sure. Again, I would compare current AI market to two different markets, and I would not actually involve .NET or bubble in this case. The first one would be the video streaming services. If you remember the Netflix, like 15 years ago, the Netflix came, everyone hopped onto streaming, and nowadays we have built like a lot of streaming services, but the amount of them is getting smaller each year. So there's like a race for the market leadership. And first of all, initially Netflix was not that profitable, and it's very similar to what we have with AI. So in the future, the prognosis that it would get profitable. So yeah, that's one comparison. And the second one would be 100 years ago. And that would go all the way back to when we discovered automobiles. If you remember, like it's like 120 years ago, it was discovered in Germany, but the first modern automobile was actually produced in America, in the US, Ford Model T. So yeah, initially there was a lot of skepticism about applicability because it's very, by the way, it's very similar to AI. We needed infrastructure. We needed a lot of investment. We needed a lot of like discovery, and there were a lot of skepticism. Why would we need automobiles if we have like horses? Because right now we cannot see the future where the AI will go. Because nobody could have imagined that we would have these huge trucks that would
That's
like,
very
transfer
good
all
parallel.
yeah, that all would transfer all these goods. Nobody knew that, but still the government built the roads and it reaped the benefits tenfold, especially the US. And it's very similar to what we have with the AI market right now as well, because the US is investing hard because it can see that in the next like 50 years, it has a lot of like white collar usage. It has a lot of military like applications. It, it's like, and we still cannot foresee the future, what it would bring to us. But I think a lot of not smart people, but a lot of analysts can predict that it can go like different ways. And while right now we do not see the profitability in the future, it will definitely come. That's the difference between now and .com, because at .com bubble, everyone thought that they could open a website and they would be instantly rich. It's not the same with AI. They know the market, and they know that they would not get rich right now, but there are infinite possibilities in the future.
But even with .coms, there were like some corrections, but still the most like the richest companies are actually from tech industry. Yeah, so that was just correction of the
The
market.
market.
And I think with
Our
AI,
guy,
will be
yeah, our guy Jeff Bezos came out of the .NET bubble like on a horse. So yeah, again, it will be the same. Hopefully not with Jeff Bezos again because he already had one win. Hopefully someone else would be that person. But yeah, definitely, it's not the same. But there would be a market correction, and right now everyone tries to be Jeff Bezos of AI. Yeah.
that's very nice actually parallel with automobile industry and I think it was even more difficult those times to explain people that they need to go out from horses and sit into automobiles. Seems that nowadays, because people understand like about possibilities of breakthrough in medicine, and the good thing about AI is that it like impacts not just one, because automobiles, they impacted just like transportation, and as far as I understand, with AI it's applicable everywhere. You can improve medicine, education, um, science, etc. And that's why like investing in one place, and we see it from even companies. All companies nowadays invest in AI, regardless it's social media or some e-commerce or some rocket building, etc. Mm, okay, and Vlad, I cannot avoid the topic speaking about common fear AI will take all jobs, and we already spoke a little bit about software development and plumbing, but what do you think in general about the job market? Like, how you think this will change in 2 years, in 5 years, or maybe even you have some prediction for later? Will we have some like jobless people, or maybe working just few days a week, or what do you think on that?
Market would have a correction. There were a few like not bubbles, but overcorrections in the last 5 years because of the COVID. We had a hiring spree in 2021, 2022, and we had an overcorrection in 2023, 2024 when the job market hit rock bottom for software development. Right now, it's actually on the rise. I would say even in the US and overseas, here in Europe, because there are a lot of opportunities. In the future, I don't. I would not provide like anything clear, but right now I see, at least for now, it's bright. But it's again, it's tied to the global economy. And if I was able to predict that, I would not tell you. I would gamble on stock market. But again, I do not share the over pessimism that we have right now. That I would completely change. Things would change because before computers we had quantitatives, like people who did like mathematical equations, etc., by hand. Nowadays we don't have them, and it's all right. They found something else. They did not go extinct. People did not starve because they were overqualified. If you have a white collar job, it's mostly about your mindset. It's pretty easy to switch to something else. You would not be completely. Some jobs would not be taken over. As I mentioned before, sciences, engineers, because they have both physical applications and like you need a lot of human oversee for that. So yeah, um,
And I think I also heard very like I saw very good data, which makes me more optimistic, let's say, that nowadays there is a huge trend of people watching how other people playing chess. And why it's interesting? Because like we lost already chess to AI. Like AI can beat anyone, any human being in chess. So basically, AI won, and why would we play even chess if we already lost this game? But there is a trend that people watch. They follow. They are not interested in AI playing with AI. They are interested watching people playing with people. So I have some optimism on that point, that people are like social being, and they still need this attention from other people and interested in lives of other people. Maybe more jobs will be created in this field for social connections, something like that.
yeah. Hopefully, software development would not like diverge to something like hackathons, and that's it, like just a hobby. It would still have like real world application. But yeah, that's a great analogy, Dennis.
And I also think a lot of new jobs that we cannot even predict now will appear. For example, my father would never like, when I told him that I pay some guy that he goes with me to gym and helps me and counts how many times I do some push-ups, for example. My father, when he was my age, he wouldn't believe there will be such profession as fitness trainer or something like that. And yeah, and nowadays it's pretty in demand, and probably we will have something like that even more. So on that point, I agree with you that I wouldn't be like pessimistic that like we don't need people or something like that. This is gonna be changed significantly. That's why I was speaking about switching, that you're switcher, and probably this is also this requires to be able to adapt to new reality, and that's important skill. Exactly. And Vlad, I also know that you've been here in Canada working here, and even though I know you currently moved to Europe, you still have your clients here in the United States, and you know that United States investing huge amount of money in AI, as you said, and even like administration, White House, they said that they want to be the leader in AI revolution, let's say. And we also get a lot of news from China that they also launch their own models like DeepSeek, etc. And it seems to me that Europe is behind in this hot AI per side. And in your opinion, why Europe? Like, is there any bright future in Europe?
I would say, first of all, there are still some AI startups in Europe. And while Europe is definitely losing this pursuit, I would say that since we have like Mistral, that is like a huge player, and I think they're French, if I'm not mistaken. At some point, Mistral had like the fastest model there is, and that is like a serious achievement, like from a statistical, like technical point of view. There are still a lot of opportunities for Europe. There's a lot of red tape, but I feel like in the next few years, the gloves will come off. Like there will be much less regulation because we are entering a new economic era. Per se, like the world is changing, so Europe would have to adapt. So at least that's my optimistic opinion. Again, I think the US is definitely the leader right now, and China is still trying to catch up. But yeah, that has been going for like the last 20 years in all of the spheres. So yeah, but in case of Europe, as I told you, there are a lot of like policy changes right now. A lot of like in the next few years, we will have a lot of elections, etc., and young people would vote and change everything. And I don't think it's like right to write off Europe right now. There are still like bright spots for it in the future.
And since you work with some huge like enterprises that even they are able to develop their own models, LLMs, etc. Mm, do you think that governments should also invest in it? Like, is it does it make sense to for every government to build internal LLMs or not really?
Um, it actually depends on the policy because, for example, it depends. But honestly, no, I think the right way would be, especially in the US, would be to support the companies and then reap the benefits. So, because the government should not delve into this field because it's innovation heavy. You need like startup mentality, and you know that governmental workers are not like that, and that it would just be a money sink. It's much better to provide some tax exemptions or some other benefits to companies, and then collaborate with them and use their models, etc. For example, there was like another revolution that nobody saw, but like the cloud revolution. You aware that the US won it by like a landslide? That all the European like websites are hosted by Amazon and Azure, so the US owned companies. I think the US right now is striving to do the same with AI. So instead of like directly involving itself in this sphere, it just supports the companies, like the beneficiaries that they see as a leader. And I think that's a great approach. It worked for them like for centuries at this point. So yeah, it worked for them in the military, in the transportation, etc. Why it won't right now? So yeah, I don't think the government should get involved, but the way US works right now, and both administrations, the previous administration and the current administration, they differ on a lot of things, but they all agree that the investment in the AI is the future.
So in your opinion, they just need to create like the environment that's very pleasable for people that are going to that have this entrepreneur spirit, and they are going to build this in Europe. But usually those people just going to US because they just get better incentives, let's say, and how to keep up with US and China for Europe in this race.
I think the benefit would be the collaboration between different countries because, yes, the US provides more opportunities regarding money, but there are still like opportunities for people based in Europe that do not want to move and can still have great money doing what they do. Because honestly, when I recently analyzed the European market, the salaries are smaller than in the US, but there are like additional benefits, pensions, etc. Those are great as well. Like in the long term, those will play out. But right now, again, the US is the market leader, and Europe would just follow right now. But it can change in the future because, as we've seen with a lot of products like Skype, etc., Europe is great at innovation, especially small countries. Again, those promote like entrepreneurial mindset very heavily, and that's the benefit. They have the funds of bigger players like France, Germany, and they have those like startups from the smaller companies, so from the small countries. So yeah, there are certain benefits as well.
Also, I'm interested in China because even though there is like currently a ban for exporting best NVIDIA chips, and as far as I know, to my knowledge, there is no such ban for exporting, for example, these chips to Europe. And Europe didn't build such models as DeepSeeks, and China managed to build pretty, as far as again, like I'm not the person that has a huge experience with DeepSeek, and in general, I'm a little bit in this information bubble being here in US about all AI here. But as far as I understand, China is right behind in this AI race. What do you think about China in this race and how they manage it? And I also heard something about this model Keiko. Maybe you know anything about that.
China is a huge player. Like that cannot be understated or overstated in this case. And as with it's very easy to compare something Huawei or Xiaomi, like the phones, and an iPhone. They have great phones, but they never managed to overtake Apple. You know, it's very similar. It's been like this for about a decade right now, and I feel like it would follow the similar pattern with the AI, because China would follow closely, but because of all those restrictions and inherent, like the way things are done in China, it will still be behind. It will provide great value. It would provide great products, but it would not be a leader. At least right now, I do not envision it, because all of the breakthrough developments are made by US-based models, Claude, etc. Gemini, it's all there. And for example, we mentioned like GPU limitations. Let's talk about DeepSeek. Like that one was pretty popular, and everyone overhyped it. But for example, DeepSeek R1, the model that was released, and while it broke all the benchmarks, when the users tried to use it, like lagged a lot. The like UX user experience was terrible, and
And
that's
did you test
partially
it?
because yeah, of course, like
Mhm.
because of all the hype, because they were not prepared. Because you can smuggle a lot of parts. It's easy to circumvent those regulations in the end because we are in a global economy. But
Mhm.
you still need to sustain those models. And from the economic perspective, uh, the US is much more approachable and much better based for those situations. For example, again, DeepSeek R1, great model, terrible experience for users. Do you know anything about it right now? No. We still talk about Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT. Those are stellar performance. If you remember ChatGPT 5 launch, I think it went extremely smooth. I don't remember any like hiccups, anything like that. And I bet a lot more people use ChatGPT than DeepSeek R1. That was like mostly accessed by like some enthusiasts, maybe some like people that like looked at the news. Still, they're behind. Again, that could change. Everything could change. But right now, from the economic perspective, the US does everything it could to maintain that leadership. And I do not see them like giving it up easily. Again, there could be some like breakthroughs, but to sustain the momentum, the all the tech is focused in the US right now. So yeah, China is huge, but it would provide great products for those that cannot access or cannot allow themselves, do not have enough funds for the American product. So it's very similar to what we have right now with the phone industry, basically any appliance, electric appliance.
But for AI landscape, do you think this is good, like having this bipolar world when there is some competition, and after China dropped this DeepSeek model, as far as I understand, ChatGPT had to think about pricing, etc., and even the government was involved because they blocked usage of DeepSeek in government states, etc. Yeah, do you think this is in general a good, or this race is not very good for AI landscape?
Again, I would go back to our previous question when we talked about like what the government should do. And in this case, it actually did what it was supposed to do. It created a good environment for local companies. And in this case, yes, it blocked it blocked the DeepSeek, like, and it's like expected because if you remember, it's honestly it follows the same pattern. They blocked Huawei and Xiaomi from the Google Play Store, etc., and it worked. Like, is it great for the competition? No, but I think those companies in China sometimes do not play fair. So yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes small US-based companies like ChatGPT need some need a handout from the government. And I'm honestly, I agree on this in this case that the government should have gotten involved.
Okay. And I'm also interested, like we already talked about how software development changed, and you mentioned that you have some tasks where you need to use AI tools to be fast in your development, like to accelerate all the code creation. What tools you use at your work, and what tools you use personally in your life, and how often?
I think I use AI in general AI tools on a daily basis. I'm still trying to be like impersonal, like to be as detached as I can be, and to not like give up all of my details about my life because honestly, that information is I don't know. I'm a little bit paranoid, but for development, I use a lot of our internal tools at DXC because we basically develop them and we're bound to use them. On an aside, I still need to keep up with the competition. I actively use Windsurf cursor for the development on my like local machine or for some local projects. That's for sure. For my day-to-day usage, I use Gemini, ChatGPT. As for the development, recently I've started using it's for like tech browser the length fuse. It's basically a telemetry framework that helps to track how much your internal tools use like other models because the problem right now is not even like with what output you have from the model is how efficient you are because you can easily bankrupt yourself if you create like a perfect software but while creating it through AI you bankrupt yourself it's not a great solution. So you still have to budget yourself. It helps out a lot. So this telemetry, login, etc. So yeah, basically nothing new. But yeah, Gemini has been like creeping into my life a lot lately. Yeah, so like that.
And you mentioned Windsurf and Cursor, and I know a lot of software developers, they use those tools for coding. But also, I myself can go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, create for me, I don't know, some websites or some software or some application." Do I understand correct that those tools, they are much more advanced, even though like narrowed, but better than ChatGPT, or with ChatGPT or Gemini, etc. I can create pretty similar stuff, or like would I be able, being not software developer, using Windsurf and Cursor to achieve my goals if I want to create mobile app or website or some application?
Depends on complexity. Again, everyone who tells me that, hey, you can be replaced with ChatGPT or like with Cursor, I say, go ahead. Please go ahead and try to create a website or a backend. It's always a great experience to look at people that try to do that, because while you can do that, you still need like technical expertise to navigate ChatGPT or like the model to do what you want it to do. And as for Windsurf and Cursor, those are simply like IDEs. So basically, like editors that we use for code writing. It's basically integrated with some AI model we can choose. So it's basically the same. The benefit of using them and not ChatGPT directly is that they can create like code itself. Like you do not have to copy it and go, and it can read your application. So while you can use ChatGPT to create from something from scratch, those Windsurf and Cursor are much more usable when you try to interact with already existing code base. So yeah, that's
But just to clarify, they use actually, so this like application between such tools like ChatGPT and your application, so they just help to connect it. Oh, okay, makes sense. Okay. I thought this is like separate LLMs developed just for software development.
they interact with your code in a way that is easier to understand for LLMs, because they wrap everything, provide the context of everything, right? Instead of copying everything by hand, like Control C, Command C, and go into ChatGPT, they will pick up everything that they need and provide it to LLM. So yeah, that's why we use them. They're much more simple.
Okay, Vlad, and during our Blitz questions, when I ask about nuclear weapon and artificial intelligence, what's more dangerous for you? You said that you would be afraid more of being dead because of nuclear weapon. But I think like it's super like tiny percent. I hope, at least I hope that this word will not go crazy. But this is like very very like tiny percent of the situation. Whereas like AI development, which is changed so many in our life, it's like inevitable. Mm, but still, you said that nuclear weapon for you personally more dangerous. Uh, do you consider that this can happen in our life being?
Like again, what is the danger of AI? Are you talking about like disinformation or I don't know, AI overtaking the world? Because I do not see that, because it has no physical appearance. It's not like a Terminator, nothing like that. We're still not building robots, despite Elon Musk's promising us like a year ago, I think. But yeah, it's nothing like that. We do not have any physical danger from that. Again, in case of disinformation, it has been happening for more than a decade at this point, since 2014. You and I are both aware of that. So maybe, as you mentioned before, AI accelerates things, right? But it still does not get as dangerous as like, oh, we have a nuclear printer outside, we are going to die in a day. Like that is dangerous. But if I need to disconnect from the internet, it's doable. I know thousands of generations live without the internet. I can do that as well. So try living without an atmosphere. But again,
Agree.
yeah, if we are talking about like job market collapse, as you've mentioned it a lot of times, we can all become plumbers in the end. So it's not the end of the world. We can
Or play chess and watch how other play chess.
play chess and starve. Yeah, that's a great plan. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I'm more like I'm not terrified of nuclear weapons. It's not like I wake up, but I am not thinking like that AI would overtake the world. There are a lot of puzzles that need to come together for that to happen, and hopefully, I hope that it would not. Yeah.
And I think it's also like Ilya Sutskever, one of the AI co-founders or like very important players. He once said that it's like about politics. You can care about politics, you cannot care about politics, but politics will care about you. I think this is pretty similar with AI, that some people can be scary, some people can be like less scary or don't care, but I think this will change, and we just need to like if you can change it, just adapt to it probably. And yeah. Okay. And Vlad, since I know that you read a lot, and at least I know that you used to read like really a lot, and you're that kind of a bookworm. You recommended that book when I said about what would be the one book. You said something about the book from Arnold Schwarzenegger. Could you tell a little bit more about this book? Why you recommended this book, and why you think this is, as far as I understand, probably one of the most important books in your life?
It's like one of the most, but it's definitely the one that has been prominent in the last few years for me, because basically the overview, it's called "Be Useful: The Seven Rules of Life." Like Arnold provides like certain rules, like instructions on how to live your life, but basically it's not for everyone. I would say it's for people that achieved success. And you would say, hey, if people have already achieved a certain degree of success, why would they need any motivation or something like that? But from my perspective, that is where the pit, the bottom often comes, because after you at the top of your life often comes the downfall or something like that. And this book helps you to maintain the momentum. It's the most important one. It encapsulates Arnold's entrepreneurial like mindset, because oftentimes when you think about the American dream, self-made man, Arnold is actually like the prime example, because he came from nowhere, from Austria, from Europe, and became like a governor of California over like 30 years. And that is an achievement. That is like an American dream. And basically the basic premise of the book is that you have to work, and that's it. But he provides an explanation that you have to work because you already achieved success, and it's your duty to help others achieve success, to pull them up with yourself, like to provide opportunities for other. Like I don't know where I heard this phrase, but initially first you learn, then you earn, and then you return. So basically, you have to return back to the community, to the people. And this helps me to keep up, because at some point of my life, you're like a senior engineer, you earn a lot of money. Why would you, what else would you need? But basically, there are still a lot of things to do, and still a lot of ways to go ahead. So yeah, it may be silly that I would not say that it's a motivational book, but because the way Arnold provides the instructions motivates you to move forward, to like keep on pressing to achieve greater success, to keep on dreaming. I think that's very important, especially for software developers, because it may sound strange to you, but software engineers and software developers are big dreamers, because basically everything we do is we dream up stuff and we put it into like our algorithms. That's basically what we do every day. And the bigger you dream, the better the software you provide. The best.
Interesting. And to be honest, I never heard even about that book, even though I really appreciate Arnold and everything what he's done. And as far as I understand, you mentioned this is also for entrepreneurs. And also idea came to my mind that because our podcast about AI, that in my opinion, for entrepreneurs, this is the perfect time because you just get so many tools, and being entrepreneur, you just have possibility to accelerate your entrepreneur spirit. And since you recommend this book, I always do in our podcast something for our audience. And what I suggest that people will go to comments in this video. They will post some AI joke and three most liked jokes, or if Vlad wanna, he will choose the jokes about AI that he likes the most, and I will send three books whenever you leave, or three books that recommended by Vlad. And I think I will add this book to my to read list as well. But unfortunately, I'm not that bookworm, and I read just few books a year. Shame on me. But I'm sold. I'm definitely going to read that book. And Vlad, for the outro, anything else you would like to convey to our viewers at the end? Maybe some message, maybe some thoughts.
I would say that keep on pushing. I know it may sound strange because nowadays the world may seem gloom. Like there are a lot of AI pessimists, a lot of software engineer pessimists. I don't know that the market would crash, the world would come down, we would all become plumbers, as you said, Dennis. But you still need to dream big. You still need to push on. I feel like there are so many opportunities out there right now. As you mentioned, for entrepreneurs, for young students, for software developers, for switchers, for anyone with the mindset to learn and adapt, because we have like a completely new industry opening up. It's like the first 5 years. Imagine that right now is 1905, and you're like, before any new cars were even launched, there are only the first few prototypes. You have so many opportunities. You can open up Porsche. You can open up a BMW. It's up to you. You can be like the competitor. Like you can be in the big league. So I think right now is a great time to do that. And I feel like even if you doubt yourself, it's always great to try, because you never know. And I feel like that's the climate right now.
Thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Vlad. That was really amazing message. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scale your web here.